Your military service qualifies for PSLF, but the recent executive orders killed your eligibility. Let's cash in. If you've heard statements like this, you're not alone. The misinformation about public service loan forgiveness for military members has reached new heights. In today's video, I'm setting the record straight on 5 dangerous PSLF myths that could cost you thousands of potential loan forgiveness. After working with hundreds of service members, I've seen firsthand how these misconceptions can derail your financial future. Have you been bombarded with conflicting information about public service loan forgiveness for your military service? You're not alone. Every week, I speak with service members who've been given misleading advice that could potentially cost them tens of thousands of dollars in loan forgiveness. Today, I'm breaking down the 5 most dangerous PSLF myths specifically affecting military personnel that I've encountered while working with hundreds of service members. Let's start with myth number 1. All military service automatically qualifies for PSLF. This simply isn't true. While military service is generally qualifying employment, only federal service counts toward the program requirements. What many service members don't realize is that documentation requirements vary significantly between branches and positions. Coast Guard members serving under the Department of Homeland Security need to complete a different certification paperwork than Army personnel under the Department of Defense. Each military branch has its own employment certification form requirements, and using the wrong form or having incomplete information can lead to rejected applications and lost qualifying time. Myth number 2 has been spreading rapidly. Recent executive orders have eliminated PSLF eligibility for military members. I've seen this causing unnecessary panic. The reality is that the March of 2025 executive order specifically targets organizations engaged in activities deemed illegal. It has nothing to do with military service. Your military employment remains qualifying employment under the statutory requirements of the PSLF program. Don't let misinformation stop you from pursuing the loan forgiveness you've earned through your service. Myth number 3 is particularly costly for reservists. Active duty and reserve have identical PSLF requirements, and in reality, these two service types have crucial differences when it comes to PSLF qualification. Active duty service automatically meets the program's 30+ hours per week of employment threshold. However, reserve service only qualifies during periods when you're working at least 30 hours weekly for a qualifying employer. Many reserve soldiers lose qualifying time by not properly documenting these periods of full-time service. You need to track and certify your qualifying periods with precision, especially during activation periods and training. Myth number 4 affects deployed service members. Deployment overseas affects your eligibility. Deployment does not disqualify you from PSLF. In fact, those payments still count. The problem arises with documentation. Each service member fails to complete their employment certification forms before and after deployment, creating gaps in their qualifying payment counts. These gaps can delay your forgiveness timeline significantly. Before deployment, ensure you have your current employment certified and make arrangements to maintain your student loan payments while overseas. Upon return, promptly certify deployment periods to maintain continuous qualifying payment status. Myth number 5 creates confusion during career transition. Transitioning from military to civilian government jobs resets your clock. This is completely false. Qualifying payments accumulate across different qualifying employers throughout your career. What matters is properly documenting the transition to ensure continuous credit towards your 120 payments. When leaving military service for another public service position, you'll need to complete the new certification forms, but your previous qualifying payments remain intact. Planning this documentation before separation from service can prevent gaps in qualifying payment history. Does your military service automatically qualify you for PSLF? Not exactly. While military service generally meets the employment requirements, successful forgiveness depends on proper documentation and understanding your specific service type's requirements. The forgiveness program isn't automatic. It requires intentional management of your loans and employment certification. The documentation requirements for each service type represent the biggest stumbling block for military members. Active duty personnel need different documentation than reserve soldiers. Officers may have different requirements than enlisted personnel. Each military branch has its own verification procedures that must be followed precisely. Without the correct paperwork submitted at the right time, you risk losing qualifying payments that can extend your repayment period by months or even years. Here's the truth about PSLF that should give you hope. Over 1 million Americans have already received loan forgiveness through this program, with military personnel among them seeing an average of $78,000 in debt eliminated. That's not just a statistic. That's financial freedom for service members who properly navigated the documentation requirements that we've covered today. The Department of Education has created specialized resources for military personnel, including the PSLF Help tool that tracks your qualifying payments and confirms eligibility. With over 2 million Americans currently in eligible employment with outstanding loans, you are not alone in this journey. It's organized by branch and service type, so you'll have exactly what you need. Next week, we'll explore how to combine your military benefits with PSLF during your transition to civilian life. Hit subscribe to see all the continuing financial missions that we have going on here on this channel, and let's cash in on the benefits that you've earned through your service.
The RINO Invest and Cash In with Cash In YouTube channels are hosted by Cash In Nunez. Cash In Nunez is a financial planner with RINO Invest Wealth Management. RINO Invest Wealth Management is a registered investment advisory firm regulated by the Securities Division of the state of Georgia in accordance and compliance with the securities laws and regulations. RINO Invest Wealth Management does not render or offer to render personalized investment or tax advice through the RINO Invest and Cash In with Cash In YouTube channels. The information provided is for informational purposes only, may not be suitable for all investors, and does not constitute financial, tax, investment, or legal advice. All investments involve a degree of risk, including the risk of loss.